George Bernard Shaw once wrote that, "If you teach a man anything, he will never learn." Have you ever had someone try to explain to you how to do something and then you totally forget how to do it? To all the parents out here, it's like teaching your kid how to ride a bike. You can't expect them to get it down immediately after telling them, and odds are they won't figure it out the first time. You see, one simply shouldn't expect to succeed in learning how to do anything without having first done it with mental and physical repetition. And most importantly, one shouldn't expect to succeed without failure. In fact, it's almost impossible to succeed without some form of failure in your life. I challenge you to look up anyone seriously successful and see if they have never failed. I guarantee you the results won't show up. Michael Jordan, Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, and Thomas Edison. These are all examples of people who have all failed immensely in their careers, yet wound up on top. Jordan in athletics, Robbins is one of the most successful financial advisors and motivational speakers in the world. Winfrey, being the first African-American female billionaire in the United States, and having proven so many people wrong with her extremely successful talk show. Spielberg in revolutionizing the film industry, and Edison in brilliant innovation. Many people know of the failures that these influential individuals went through in order to be successful, and oftentimes we try to mimic the ideologies and habits that the famous had and have today. Yet, a lot of us fail. We come up short, and we become scared. What do we do after that? We quit. We quit due to the blind fear of failure, and that is a problem that my generation, in fact, has today. And it's a problem that we're starting not to see success as much as we used to, because we're simply afraid of the fear of failure. This is a problem because it inhibits growth in individuals in society and society as a whole. In my life, as it is still young, I've failed numerous times, anywhere from ruining my mother's chances at practicing medicine to almost getting sued in one of my businesses. And I used to be scared of failure just as a lot of you are today. If you have ever failed from something that you didn't quite think you'd bounce back from, I want you to raise your hand. Okay. And I want you to keep your hand up if, as time passed, you realize it wasn't as bad as you thought it would be. You see, that scared state of mind that a lot of you are in used to be an extreme state that I lived in for a very long time. 6 years ago, I embarked on a journey to play American football. I was 104 pounds in the state of Arizona, and I was a freshman. I told everyone I would be a star and play with the big guys on varsity. As you can imagine, that didn't quite happen as I had planned. In fact, I lost my first game as a quarterback and ultimately failed to fulfill my job as captain. See, I told myself I would never lose again and that I hated losing. Who doesn't hate losing? It's a horrible feeling and one that is oftentimes more powerful than winning itself. Knowing that, why keep going? Why? As I continued my career in California, I lost every single game from my sophomore year until I graduated high school. Yeah, it was bad. However, each year had gotten better. I'd become more motivated, driven, and relentless towards my pursuit of success, but I was lacking in one area. I was still trying to succeed with as little failure as possible. Now that I'm aware of why I shouldn't have been scared of failure, I realize how much time I wasted fearing it, and I often think about where I could be today had I not been so scared back then. All my actions towards success were due to the blind fear of failure, and that in itself was a negative and unnecessary distraction in my life. With all my energy put towards succeeding without failure, I found, ironically, that I was failing more in my life, and I was terrified. You see, with respects to failure, you can never learn unless you actually go into it. And as I was failing, I realized I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe I was cursed. Maybe I was just not meant to succeed. I found that all my dreams had been slipping away despite working so hard for so long. I missed out on the opportunity to play football for Harvard University and the University of Oregon, and I ultimately felt depressed because of it. I thought I was never going to succeed. And that, as a lot of you guys can imagine, was the worst feeling ever. As a mentor of mine says, Tony Robbins, when people succeed, they tend to party. When they fail, they tend to ponder. During this time in my life as a senior in high school, I was pondering huge. I had no idea where my life would end up, and it was by sheer luck that Humboldt State University would let me walk onto the program to continue my career and further my education. However, for months, I was failing, and my mind had been beaten. I never got to play. I ruined a relationship with the first woman I ever loved, and I thought I was going to quit. With respect to the 4 pillars of life being health, wealth, love, and happiness, I wasn't healthy as I had so much stress bottled up. I seriously lacked wealth. I lost the first love of my life, and I just wasn't happy. Then, one day, everything just changed when my college football coach, Rob Smith, had given one of his infamous speeches about how he, too, had almost quit his freshman year of college, and how his father had actually expressed to him and told him to stay, because he told him that people have the weird way of feeling one way today and a crazy tendency to feel the complete opposite the next day. With this in mind, I went home that night and I thought seriously to myself that tomorrow can be different from today if I just change one thing, such as my mindset. And you know what's crazy? I had a breakthrough. How many of you have ever realized, raise your hands, that the biggest thing keeping you down oftentimes is a double-edged sword and you're just on the wrong side of it? See, this big idea that's keeping a lot of you guys down is failure. And you could seriously benefit from it. Failure to the majority is defined as the lack of success, when in reality it should be defined as the catalyst of success and more failure. I thought seriously to myself that night and said, I'm going to change my mindset with a formula. And I created this formula, and it's the formula for success. And it goes like so. Success simply equals tripling down on your talents and 10xing your failure rate. Invest 3 times more energy on what you're good at, your talents, and increase your failure rate by 10 times. Since implementing this formula in my own life in the past year, and especially the past 5 months, I've started several businesses, I've achieved greater athletic fitness, and most importantly, I'm happier with my life. You see, I'm no longer scared of failure because I literally desire it, and I visualize it long before I think about success. I live this way because what do you do when you fail? You ponder. And what are you doing when you're pondering? You're learning, reflecting, and growing. 2 of my businesses saw massive failure, and one of them ended in all my business partners actually leaving the company while almost ending in a lawsuit. And it was just my fault. See, most of the people in my generation especially, we get in the habit of quitting due to fear of failure, but one must take into account that if success calls upon repetition, and failure happens to be a part of success, then failure repetitively with learning and growth will increase success. Now, this isn't some big new idea, but it's one that people often aren't aware of. People truly underestimate the need for failure in your life. These failures in my life that have brought me to where I am today simply can't be taught. They have to be experienced. And the best way to do it if you're not actually failing yourself is visualization. I want you guys to visualize something that makes you just really nervous, nerve-wracking, like public speaking. And I want you to visualize yourself failing miserably in it. Okay, now learn, reflect on that, grow, and then visualize success. As a rule of thumb, I want you to visualize failing 10 times before each nervous situation. Reflect, learn, and grow, and then visualize the success after. Don't just do this once a month or even once a week. When you guys leave here tonight and when you're done watching this, I want you guys to visualize failing 10 times every single day, minimum, as you focus on each of your talents. See, when I fail, I learn a lot. And by doing so, we put ourselves in the position towards success. I told an employee of mine once that in order to get past the fear of rejection, he was going to have to start with a minimum of 10 failing moments, i.e. rejections. And I told him like so. I want you to go out, find the first person you can with an extremely nice car, and ask them if you could drive it. They will say no. And don't just stop there. Go 9 times more. Ask 9 more people if you can drive their nice car. Because you're going to learn from it, your pitch is going to get better, and you're going to get comfortable with failure and learning. See, by doing this, I literally wake up every single day, and I visualize failing in my daily tasks before I even attempt them. I learn about them, and then I finally attempt them. Failure is a part of reality. You can visualize it as much as you want and benefit extremely well from it, and it's just as powerful as the real thing, while being equally as important as success itself, possibly even more important. So the problem with success is that people tend to get content. They get complacent and eventually depressed. As a result, we're starting to see a higher increase in suicide rates. We see an increase in drug overdose. We're seeing that less and less kids are graduating high school. And we're becoming mediocre, becoming fine with the fact that we're not living a curious life learning anymore. Take that 4-year-old that we all know, for example, and imagine how curious they are about life. They're always asking the questions, and they don't care if they spewed out the wrong answer. They're going to say it. But somewhere along the line, that 4-year-old loses sight on what it's like to be human. They stop answering with the wrong answer, despite knowing that the right answer is waiting for them. This is what society's done to us. Then one day, that 4-year-old lives a life without curiosity and learning. See, the remarkable thing about life is that as we fail, we learn about who we are and what we see our purpose as. You want to live the good life? Hang out with that 4-year-old more. A mentor of mine once told me that he asked a girl out 26 times in 1 year. He came back every time because she said no, smoother and smoother, not in a creepy way. And, and they've been happily married for over 30 years now. A lot of people bash on millennials. But the simple truth is, despite us whining, despite us being a generation that lacks action, despite us expecting too much, I can argue that I have a privilege and an honor to be a part of this generation because it is one of the most innovative generations in human history. See, by setting aside our own pride and accepting failure and learning, we're going to see an increase in phenomenal change in our lives individually, but most importantly, as a societal movement. By doing this, we're going to see that as we've changed society, as we get better, we're going to have a healthier planet. So the question is not why not us? It's why not you, individually at the individual level. Thank you.